So yeah, I'm Aandeg Muldrew. I just got started here in January 2025, and so I'm really happy to talk about this field school, which is what we offered for the first time there last summer. So yeah, I'm Aandeg Muldrew, and so I'm the coordinator for the Anishinaabemowin program that we're starting here at the university. And so this field school is kind of a core part of this program going forward as well. So it's really good that we had this started, and it's kind of providing it was a kind of a test for as we're expanding it going forward. So do I just click the button here to move the slides? Yeah, great. So previously, we had the Anishinaabemowin Field School offered through Indigenous Studies. I think in 2018, I was the TA for that when Darren Crochane taught that. So it was an experimental course, and it hasn't been offered since then. So we kind of had to start from scratch when we were coming up with this again. So this is the first time we offered it through Indigenous languages here. And so we called it the Anishinaabemowin Field School, and then the Anishinaabemowin title we gave it was the Bijishig Anishinaabemowin Gabeshuin, which is basically just that translated. And so that's our kind of unofficial acronym bag that we've been using. So again, the reason why we want this course, this field school, is to provide this bridge for language learners. The issue is that we have right now this rough kind of idea. We have lots of language learners, engaging with language learning in the community or through language tables. You can take intro courses, but it's still really difficult for our Ojibwe learning. And this goes for lots of other Indigenous languages here, is there's not a pathway for those learners to keep on learning and to develop their fluency. Again, you can look at trauma in their community, in the intergenerational transmission. They can't just go to their family and pick it up easily. Same thing with university programs. We got to develop that. Programs for adults to do that, and there's not a lot of media that they get, so we need a special place to create that bridge for learners to get to that intermediate stage to continue on their learning. And so that was really the rationale for the field school. And so when we were putting it together, those are their goals, right? It's creating an immersion environment, centering our Anishinaabe knowledge, Anishinaabe, and having that again being taught in the language, which centers that knowledge. When you translate it, there's changes that occur in the focus, and then even the content can change. So that was another important aspect of that, and then connecting these language learners, with the L1 speakers, the fluent speakers, the speakers who grew up in an Anishinaabemowin environment, and who learned that as their first language. So that was our main goals. And so again, we partner with MICEC, Manitoba Indigenous Cultural Education Center, and so we worked with them to offer the course as a university course, and also to have community members take the course as well. So it was for credit, and also it included community members as well. And so again, we were had to kind of start from scratch for the course, but we're drawing on my previous experience at Ojibwe Makati Dao Makita Kimanang, which is in Minnesota, and they also worked with Concordia language villages down in it's also in Minnesota by the Niji. So these are some of those methodologies we're using to offer the course up here. And there's some differences as well that we did. So I'll just go through and talk a little bit more about these goals and what that looked like when we offered the course here. So again, to create that immersion environment, these are some photos we had from the class with the students and teachers. So what the course looked like is it was a 2-week course in July, and we had 1 week just on the upper one story up here. We had 1 week here on campus where we met in the mornings. We had breakfast. We brought in students and the language teachers, and we started with a ceremony, opening ceremony, and then we went through the day with different lessons and activities and games. So that was the first week, and then we ended before supper. And then the second week, we moved out to a place by Beausejour, and that's where we were living all together for another week. So that's where we started the day, had breakfast, and continued on throughout the whole day. So that's what we had. We had the curriculum, we had the lessons and activities to support those learners and to be in that immersive environment throughout the class time. And this is really important for the language learning as well, as you're not just using it in the classroom, but you're having your conversations over breakfast. You're being socialized into language with the other language learners and also the L1 speakers. So that's really important too when you think about language learning, is those social ties that you create in the class continue on after the course is over. So that's a really important part too when we think about Indigenous language learning and education, is how do we foster that use of the language outside the classroom. It doesn't just end at the end of the class or the end of the day. Let's see, the format got a little changed up here. Oops. So another thing, again, when we talk about how do we center Anishinaabe Kendasuin, our knowledge, we're bringing, again, I was the professor on the teaching the course, but again, it was mostly these language speakers who were actually providing the input on the lesson. So we had one trip here to the Muldrew Center at the Forks there. So we had a lecture there from Elder Harry Bowman. And these are some of the other L1 teachers who were providing the lessons here. We got Annie Boulanger, who we have now as an instructor, full-time, regular academic staff here now at the university. Really glad to have her there. And then these are some more ladies who are talking about also bringing their knowledge of Anishinaabe coming of age practices, I guess I might say. So they developed these lessons, and they're sharing that in immersion to the students. And so again, we're bringing them all together, the L1 speakers into the classroom or into the learning environment. And so that's also another really important part of the program too, is again creating those relationships with the language learners and with the language speakers. So again, a really important part of that is again when we talk about the safety or trauma-informed approach to language learning, because again, this goes for any language, but especially for Indigenous languages, where you have that impact of residential school and other things like racism, where people often have those barriers to learning the language or engaging with language speakers because they are getting scolded or corrected for not knowing the language or making mistakes. So that's a really important part of the program that we talked about at the start with everyone, and that goes through, is creating that safe and supportive environment for people. And it's also something that we also get from, that we also give students, is how do you ask questions in the language in immersion, which again goes on to keep those that goes on to provide those students with these tools to continue their learning with maybe the same maybe with the same language speakers or other people in their community. I took a field methods, a research methods class in my MA for linguistics, and what I didn't realize is I had already learned those research methods from being in immersion as an Indigenous language learner, those elicitation questions and whatnot. So those are some of those tools that we use in immersion. So these are, so for example, this Nigan Ibanez is one of the elders we had in talking about tree, they're talking about making a fire, and then our second language immersion facilitators are going in there and writing down the key vocabulary, or kind of going back and forth with the elder, kind of clarifying a term here or there, or kind of facilitating again the lesson from the point of view of the learner. So it's kind of breaking down the very advanced language which is being provided, but then also breaking it down depending on the language level of the learner. And just to go quickly here now too. So again, last year we had 10 students. We only had 2 university students, and then we had 8 through MICEC. So that's how it worked out for the first year. We didn't have at the time a lot of advanced language Ojibwe language students here at the university, but of those community students from last year, we have now 1 helping with my dictionary project. And then 3 came into the new cohort that we have here. So it's kind of turned into a pathway into the program that we have now. And then also one of them is staff here too, of those students. And in terms of the people we had to support that program, again, we brought in 8 of those L1 language teachers. Again, some of them were elders, some of them were not elders, but they were L1 speakers. We had 3 of those L2 second language learner facilitators who had knowledge of the immersion practices. And then we had 2 coordinators and 1 TA. And so that all helped to again make that class function and have that immersive environment there for the students. And so just to finish up here the current plans now we're planning again another field school for this summer. And so we're looking to expand that. Again, we're offering that for the cohort this year, the cohort that we have. And so the experience from previous last year is really helping us make that a better experience. We're going to develop more of the curriculum there, have it more prepared ahead of time, and we're also going to expand the time in the first week as well. So there's more time in immersion. And so, but into the future, we want to expand the program with more teachers, so we can offer it to multiple cohorts going forward. And we also want to make it available to just the regular student body that we have, not just the cohort. So we need more faculty to offer that going forward, and to train up to have a larger pool of facilitators as well. And other kind of more long-term plans would be, how do we make it more accessible to the community as well? Again, it worked really well with MICC, so we're talking about an MOU to make that easier. That's not, I guess, a regular university practice to do that, so we'd like to do that and make it more available, continue to make it available to the community, not just our cohorts, not just our university students, but we need the community be accessible to the community as well. And so maybe that means also being weekends over the fall and winter term too, not just the summer camp. So those are just some thoughts there for the future. And that was everything that I had there. So, miigwech.
Thank you so much.